This first section is called What's Your Problem? And in 3 stages we've covered the analysis, we've considered the evidence, and we've prioritised what we're looking to do. What I want to do here is just pull out the key steps along this first section. Where we started from was you considering the area of interest and bringing this together into a problem statement, which really asked you to consider what your area of interest was and what the components of that might look like. We moved on then, based on that, to think about who else needs to be involved in helping you with this project, and also consider potentially who may prevent this project from happening, and how might we respond to those demands. The third step then asks us to look into more detail about what it is that you want to do and how you might approach it. So the issue tree is forcing you to ask questions of your idea and really get to the bottom of what you want to do. We then use the next step of the work plan to then make sure that we've considered everything and the detail we need to be clear about how we might fix that problem. And then the final step really is to go back to the start and refresh your problem statement, as this then forms a very clear checkpoint, a very clear point for you to keep coming back to, as it will define what you're hoping to do for your improvement project. And that is before we move on to considering how we're going to implement it. In this section, we looked at and developed an understanding of what service improvement is, and we also considered some of the limitations and opportunities of these approaches. Importantly, then, we looked at an understanding of the context into which you will implement change and how you might look to assess that context. And then through an understanding of storytelling, we looked at and considered how storytelling can help you as an individual, as a leader, as a clinician, but also how storytelling as a tool can help develop improvement activities. So by the end of this section, you will have considered improvement opportunities in healthcare and the particular approach you will want to use for your project. You hopefully will have considered or assessed the context into which you're going to deliver it, and also started to really be able to tell the story of the change that you want to be able to deliver, and or included development of patient stories into your improvement approach. Now we move on to the third and final stage of our programme. This is called Leading Improvement, or You Are Not Alone. So we're really looking to understand your contribution and working with the team, how you can impact on the likelihood and success of your improvement project. And so we'll be considering what leadership is, what it might be, looking at and providing you with some tools and approaches to understand your own preferences to leadership, and therefore what some of your limitations might be and how you can overcome those. And then understand the awareness between the evidence and context from the previous sections and how that might influence the choice you make about facilitating and implementing your project. During this stage, we reviewed the progress that we were making from the first stage and into the second, and recognised some of the challenges that we were all facing around the decision whether we can create and identify a bounded project. And we recognised that whilst the programme and the framework can remain in place, we maybe wanted to or needed to support you to identify emerging areas that may be more complex and unbounded problems, and find the right tools and approaches to support you. It was also important that we reflected on the fact that the forms are important to providing a structure and discipline to help you deliver the improvement, but they aren't at the expense of focusing on the outcomes. We also recognised that the time commitment that you have is very, very limited given the operational pressures that you have. With that in mind, we took a step back and considered 3 questions to help frame the projects that you wanted to choose. These were: what are you trying to achieve? How will you know change is an improvement? And what change will you make? Those are the 3 questions we wanted to focus on. And from that then, that let us identify the best way for you to move forward within the framework of the programme.